Welcome to Ask Gwen, everyone. Today I have Douglas with me, and Douglas, let's just say he, like myself, is going back to school, believe it or not. Uh, the old school age kids get on this podcast. And so I'm glad Douglas take it away and explain more about what he does and how we met and all that good stuff.
Okay. Okay. Well, my name's Doug Hurt. Um, I met Win online in another group when it's kind of another group about leadership, about coaching, and about learning from one another. And for me in my personal life, I just came from a very poor household in the north side of Houston, Texas. And I'm the only one of five children to actually graduate high school. I graduated high school in 1981, and when I considered going to college, my father told me that we weren't college people. You know, it didn't matter what my grades were. It didn't matter what my school counselors told me. He wasn't, he just basically was not very supportive of college education. So to try and summarize it as much as I can, I listened to my father. I entered into the working world and worked in retail and sales for 16 years. Um, I found that that was just not a very stable income environment. My wife and I had just gotten married. We had our first child, and I really needed something that was a good way of making a living. A friend of mine talked me into getting into manufacturing. So after 16 years of wearing a shirt and tie to work every day, I went into a blue collar job where I was working with my hands every day, working in manufacturing. And so I learned to be a machinist. And for 18 years, I basically ran a machine carving metal and making parts for the oil field industry, which was financially rewarding, but it took a lot, took me away from my family for 70 hours a week in most cases. After that, I found myself in with a heart condition. I had to have heart surgery, which eventually caused me to lose that job in manufacturing. So at the nice age of 53, I realized that I needed another career. I needed to make a new comeback, basically a third return to the working world, and I had to find something that I could do with a heart condition. And so I decided to enter college at 53, and so I'm currently entering my senior year of a bachelor's degree in psychology at the age of 57, and will hopefully go on to get a master's degree in counseling so that I can help people until it's time for me to move off of this world and go on to the next world. I guess I'm not the kind of person that can retire, and so I was very happy that when Wynn asked me to be here today because she's a person that I think I can learn from as far as a lot of the things in life that are daily challenges, weekly challenges, and things that keep us all going in the world.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Doug. And I want to ask you a couple questions. If you had a favorite book, what would it be?
My favorite book,
Yes.
well, one book fiction wise that I like that I've read many many times is a book by Stephen King called The Stand, and it's uh, the complete edition where they added back in probably another 400 pages of story to it, and it's a fiction story, but it's the the evolution of this story is basically what happens to people even in a reduced society when people are wiped out by a plague or by a virus, something like COVID that's going on right now. That even with reduced numbers, the problem with humanity is not the technology, but it's always how people interact with one another. And the story is just very intricate in how it explains what happens to people, even when there's a reduced competition for survival. The problem still comes down to social interaction and how we interact with each other. So that's a fiction story that I like. And of course, I do like to read the Bible because the Bible is a book that I don't look at that as fiction, but it's a book that will never get old because it's imperishable and we can always find a way to make it adapt to our daily life.
So, Stephen King, someone else mentioned Stephen King on this podcast, and man, I think they're right. Man, I think Stephen King should write updated version of The Stand because and mention COVID because
Oh yeah.
um yeah I can't uh, well I am not the biggest Stephen King fan. I tried, you guys, to read Stephen King, but it I think I'm going after journalism school. I think I'm going to have to get into more Stephen King books because at the time his writing, even though it was phenomenal, his writing scared me, and I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan. So I'm not. I'm going to after journalism school pick up that book because I feel like to be a phenomenal journalist, you have to read these phenomenal writers, and Stephen King is one of them.
Well, yeah, and he has a very good book on the skill or craft of writing, and
Yeah,
it's just called On Writing. And I
yeah,
think that's one of my favorite books that I recommend to people who want to learn to write, at least in fiction, because Stephen King's craft, basically, his secret is mostly that he gives you only enough detail for you to create your own image. And so the monster is never really very clearly defined in his book, whatever that monster is. And so your imagination ends up being what scares you the most. So I think that's where he's kind of successful at. It's giving you just enough information to lead you down the hole.
exactly. Now, if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Um, God, I thought about that and I had a title. For this is there's a very complicated story behind this, but it would be the boy who discovered he was human. And it's a long, complicated story about my childhood, but that the house that we grew up in was a lot of problems, and me and my siblings frequently talked about other people as real people. And in other words, we as children didn't believe that we were like other people. We thought there was something wrong with us and that we weren't part of the same species even. I mean, it sounds very odd, but that really was a very common denominator for us in our home as we were children. And so I'd had that conversation with him on a number of occasions. So I'm pretty sure that if he wrote a book about me, and by the way, he has a PhD in psychology and is practicing in California right now, I'm pretty sure he would give it that title, basically, the boy who discovered he was human. And
And so, if you had to only take 5 things with you for the exception of your family, what would they be?
well, let's see how far can we stretch this family thing. If I can't talk about humans, we are a dog rescue family, so I
Yeah,
have 4 dogs. I
the
have four
human
dogs. So
the
do I
human
count them as family, or
you
or are they?
can, count your furry family and your human family.
Okay, so if I can't count any living organisms, wow, I hadn't really thought of that. I thought I had it all figured out because it was all the living organisms in my life, and now I'm kind of stuck on what I would take. I volunteered in scouting for 20 years, so I'm not really worried about. I could build a shelter in the woods, so I'm not worried about taking something. Maybe just a sleeping bag, a backpack, and a method of starting a fire. Those 3 things right there would be good. I have a hammock and a tent. Those would be that's it right there.
That's good. So you did scouting for 20 years, Boy Scouts, I presume. And
Exactly. Yeah.
so what is your morning routine?
Well, in the morning, basically every morning, fortunately, luckily for me, because I'm a heart patient, I have to take a lot of medicine. So obviously, first thing out of bed, I pretty much brush my teeth and take a handful of pills that I have to take every day. I get up and I try to do a little bit of reading to get my brain working. I do have a cup of coffee, Texas pecan coffee. That's the only coffee I drink anymore. And then I try to walk. I get in 2.5 miles in the morning and then 2.5 miles in the evening. And this is something that I did not know about until I started walking as a regular routine, that I've learned something called walking meditation. And so that period of walking that I spend, which might be 45 minutes to an hour in the morning and then 45 minutes to an hour again in the evening, is kind of like a mind clearing process, a way of bringing my energy together. Um, but it's very strictly a walking meditation, that while moving, I'm able to actually focus my mind, clear my thoughts, kind of get all the luggage out of there, and give myself a clean machine to work with after that walk in the morning. It really helps me get my brain in gear on most days.
Well,
And
how done?
after that, generally the rest of the house is up, since we're all working out of the home now, right now, because of COVID. The dogs are wanting interaction. I tutor students during the day, and normally prior to noon, I'm normally doing personal writing or something like that. And at from noon to 6 on several days a week, I'm tutoring students. But my
Yes.
morning routine, yeah, was pretty much every day. Get up, brush your teeth, take your medicine, drink your coffee, and walk 2.5 miles and meditate in the same time while you're walking to get
Yeah.
that thing going.
And then do the rest of it. No, working I have always worked well, I shouldn't say I had a part-time job for 10 years, but, um, unfortunately, due to COVID, I lost that job,
Yeah.
and I think that I lost that job due to my disability.
Mhm.
Sad as it may be, I lost that job due to my disability and COVID because, I asked I, said to my boss, previous boss, I said, "Do you want me to come in? Do you want me to mask up?" He goes, "We don't have a plan." They were just coming off spring break, and I said, "Well, bye, guys, because you we all knew this was coming. You guys, didn't have a plan." Whereas most school districts, by the end of spring break, had a plan, had some sort of emergency plan. And
Exactly.
so I think I lost my job more to me being me than COVID, but that's beside the point. I lost my job due to COVID. And so, yeah, but I am fully happy and capable of what I'm doing now, which is content creation slash journalism. So, yeah. And then I want you to ask me those questions you texted me.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, the questions, and I think we had talked about, is that, my big thing is, because of my age and what motivated me to go back to school, I'm always interested in trying to help other people in motivation. So this first question is basically on tough days, are those days where you're challenged, either just you're physically tired or you're just mentally exhausted, and you're just trying to find a reason to keep going, or to get out of bed, or just to get out the door, to get on the computer. Well, is there a thought or a practice that you use to reignite your drive, or to find your motivation again?
Well, I as I as you guys know, I have um had a lot of loss in my life in the past, well, starting in 2010, and then in 2019 I had my world again turned upside down, and so this world world turned upside down thing has gone from 2019 to almost the end of 2020. And so I'm trying, the only thing that's keeping me semi positive right now is because of me not seeing people, and then granted I'm a social butterfly. So, and I like to travel. And I have never, this has been the longest I've been home in my life since I, ever. This has been the longest I've been home in my life ever. And I used to travel a lot um, before I got sick, which sick being a major back injury, and I used to travel a lot. And so basically what is keeping me so positive right now is um, not only my chosen family, but my fan base, my you guys are really keeping me um, positive to the point where I want to move and get up, because if I, jeez, nice Doug, nice Doug, you caught me on, you caught me off guard, you caught me at this. Now, if I want to get up and get moving, I require assistance, and it's you guys that are keeping me going, and it's you guys that are checking in on me. And my chosen family, and well, they check in on me, but then my stepmom is in retail management, so she is only here on her days off. The rest of the time she's at work. She's at work, although she did take she did take a couple months off because of COVID, but now that Aspen has slowly opened back up, um, she's needed at work. So basically, for me to get up and move, I need help. So it's you guys keeping me going. It's my journalism degree getting that's keeping me going. And yeah, it's basically what is keeping me going is the projects I'm working on and inspiring people. If I inspire people to put one foot in front of the other and to just move, and if I inspire a teacher just to not break down in tears in the classroom as they have mask on, or if I inspire someone to just put one foot in front of the other, type that one email that could change their life, my job is done. My
Yeah,
job as a professional speaker is done. And I am an abuse survivor as well. I'm abuse survivor 3 times over. Um, the third time was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I bounced back from that before COVID. And so, if I inspire people just keep going, my job is done.
exactly. That's the best definition of success is just to know that even one life breathes a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that you guys, those of you that have um, family members dealing with COVID. I know those in the hospital um, can't necessarily, unless they hand the phone to the nurse, but they can't necessarily bring podcast into the hospital, let alone family members. But I want you guys to know, and I especially want all the teachers out there and all the students, no matter what age we are, and I say we because I am still a journalism student, and I want all this all the teachers and all the students to know that everything will be okay. Now, some students can understand, the older ones could understand what's going on, but the younger ones can't. And I know teachers can't give their students a hug. Trust me, I know that. But you may want to turn on Ask Gwen and just give them a lesson in diversity.
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
just give them
exactly. Yeah.
a lesson in diversity so that and I know it's gonna be tough. I know that you've got admin bleeding under your neck. I know that you can't run to the break room and cry, basically. But you need to understand that they may not get it, but in the long run, they will. In the long run, these kids will, and I will be standing there cheering you guys on as of my job as a silent cheerleader for all the um, teachers all across the country starts August 5th, goes rolling into September. And so my job my new job as a cheerleader educator starts August 5th. And I'll be, for those of you that follow me on Facebook, I'll be asking in the next couple of days, what day do you go back to school so that I can start cheering you guys on? I mean, I've got intel that the Orange County schools in Orlando, Florida go back August 5th, and I'll just start staggering them out because just because I leave education doesn't mean I leave you guys behind. Just I leave education doesn't mean Doug, just because Doug and I are doing old school and we're not in alternative anymore, it doesn't mean we leave all the rest of the educators behind.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Yeah. So, anyway, you guys are keeping me going.
Um, okay, I think we talked about this. Are you finding, the COVID pandemic is making us spend so much time at home that we're having to do a lot of things differently than we used to do them? And, so for most people, I think, or do you feel like we're experiencing a lot of innovation right now because of the pandemic? That, and some of it could be good, or do you feel like the pandemic has been more of a setback for us socially than the innovation makes it worth it?
I feel like it's innovation, but I also feel like it's a little bit of a setback for those of us who are social butterflies and want to go out and want to meet people. I mean, I'm the type that will talk and cancel the like this to a phone. They'll make friends in a train station. They'll make friends with homeless people if you allow us.
Yeah.
And so, um, and so my personality slash my astrological sign is Cancer, and Cancers are just They're very outgoing, they're very strong-willed, and so I think those of us who are the introverts love it, but the extroverts are about to go bananas because I'm so used to going out. I'm so used to seeing people. I am so used to going to the gym, going to the grocery store, going to the um, meeting people, just having conversations in the car. Put me put me in a vehicle with someone, I will chat them all up and down the valley. I mean, put me in a situation, um, and put me in a situation where I can chat with them. I will chat with them until they pretty much say when you need to knock it off because I'm the point. But that's just my personality. And Glenn,
Yeah.
it's this is the funny thing is, Doug, that this is not my online personality. This is my personality in general. This is my
Exactly.
going happy personality in general. Even on May 19th, when my father passed away, I was so strong for everyone that walks in, including my aide. My aide goes, "You're unbelievable." And I
Yeah.
was so strong for people coming up and bursting into tears in my arms. And it's like, okay, I've been through this once. I'm allowed to burst into tears, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to because I know this was bound to happen. And so
Exactly.
I just treated it as yes, he passed away. Yes, I'm sad, but I never went into that help me, help me, help me mode. I was more into okay, let's get help. Let's move on because had I had started figuring my life out in a hotel room. I sat one morning in a hotel room by myself while they my stepmom and stepsister went to the hospital. I I got away with a little white lie to my dad because my dad goes, "Let's win," and so I had to tell my stepsister to tell him that I was doing homework, which I got up that morning and did the homework already. I just didn't want to deal with the medical end of it. And I said, I needed you, which she did. I said, I needed you to tell him that I'm doing homework and I will see him the next day. Well, the next day came, I saw him, and that was that. And so he was the type when he got diagnosed with cancer, he didn't even look at his fiance. He didn't even he I texted him I love you. He texted me back, but he was so shaken up that he didn't see anyone. He just wanted every single person to go away. And I I understand why. I mean, his life just got turned upside down too. And so, but I'm the type of person, if we have a problem, let's fix that problem and let's deal with it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what helped you. For me, I don't I don't look at death the same way I think that a lot of people do. I understand when death happens that we're normally very sad because we're losing that person in our lives, but we have to also believe that they're not gone forever. They're only gone from here, and they're gone out of our life, but they're not. They didn't stop existing. They just stopped existing on Earth.
Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
so that for me is what has always gotten me through those times when you're losing someone you care about. That you can see them again, and that they didn't end. They just won't be in your life.
They no. No, I believe that my parents both my parents are looking down on me, protecting me. I mean, I have the house I'm sitting in right now is my dad's house, and it's a long story, but I believe that I'm of the type that believes that even though they're not here in a physical um, presence, I believe they're still looking down on me and making sure I'm okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They are there, and they can still be a part of your life. And it's just to remember them, the memory of them, and what they would say if they were there. And I tell people that all the time. My dad died before I had any children, so I never got the experience of having my father help me out with being a dad. So I just basically constantly asked myself, what would my dad do if he were here? What would he say? And so in those ways, he was always around when I needed him.
Yeah, no, and and it's interesting because I started grieving my dad's loss because I knew what was coming um, when he was in a hospital up here. I mean, we talked about who I am going. Now this was fascinating. We talked about who I'm going to vote for in the presidential election, and And I remember that's the last lucid, that's the last conversation I had with him. The rest of those conversations, he was so oxygen deprived because of his lung cancer that he um he was so exhausted that he couldn't form a sentence. And or he was in bed half the time, and I was walking around working half the time. I was upstairs because I wanted to leave him alone. But and I was still working at the time. But I remember having that conversation with him in the hospital, and I'm like, well, I didn't tell him that I was grieving. I was starting to grieve his loss, but I'm like, well, this is a interesting conversation to have with a person who you were not going to see again. Politics.
Yeah.
Politics, I love it. But, no, but my dad and my mom were, and I didn't even get that with my mom. My poor mom, she was in a medical coma. Actually, yes, I did. I got one, last conversation with my mom basically telling her that I love her and I'm going to be back down to support her. Well, that didn't happen. Um, I actually got two. I actually got two. Now that I think about it, um, one day she and this is hell out of so she was saying that I am too tired to go to physical therapy. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. We're doing this. And I landed up, I was in a wheelchair and she was walking next to me. I landed up chasing her down the hallway because um, I wanted, and the physical therapist goes, how did you do that? And I said, trust me, we have a mother-daughter relationship that you don't even know about. And so I said, no, you're not. You're not decided to go to physical therapy. We're doing physical therapy, and so my mom looks at me like, okay then. Okay, because she was recovering from a slow leaking she was recovering from brain surgery at the time. And I'm like, no, you're not. So that's how I motivate people. I literally tell them, no, that is not the answer, or you can just talk to me about it. And then but it's been long and interesting it's been a long and interesting ride, the past couple years.
Well, yeah, I mean, just time wise, I mean, all the other things in your life, I can imagine you've overcome a lot of challenges. Um,
You think you think? I mean,
yeah.
it's been a long and wild ride.
Yeah, but it's like I mean, it's in the Bible actually, but we were promised that we would never be given any something that we couldn't handle, but that doesn't mean it's going to all be easy either. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just knowing that what we're given is we will overcome it, but it doesn't mean it's going to be an easy way. I mean,
no,
I used to like the expression of telling people that we use tools in our lives made out of metal, and the secret of metal and what makes a tool better is when they temper the steel. And so they tempering steel means you get it to the hottest temperature you can so that it's close to melting, and then you put it into water to cool it back down. And the number of times that you do that, it makes that metal harder and harder and harder. And so, a lot of times for people, we are just like steel. Sometimes we go through a lot of tempering, we go through a lot of being pushed to the melting point, but it's to make us stronger. We overcome it and we become better people more often than not for
oh,
those trials that we go through.
no. Oh, yes, we do.
Let's see. I had two other questions. Do you want to still go over those, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So the third question was advice for people who struggle with goal setting. I know you were just talking about getting people motivated and being their motivation for them, but for goal setting, just deciding, I'm gonna, you have a goal right now of your interest in journalism, and then you want to get into education. So, do you have a way that you track that goal so that you know you're on your path? I mean, that's one thing I think that kind of helps us stay motivated is if we can at least set a goal and find a way to make steps to achieve it. So, do you have any advice for people that are going through that, trying to figure out a way to set goals?
Well, I have the best advice I have is actually physically tell people, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to get a degree in education, which is true after my journalism degree. I'm going to get a degree in psychology on Doug's end. I so physically tell people so they can keep you accountable.
Exactly. That's probably something I heard in the 70s actually is a very exactly that pretty much is that have witnesses, that you make a commitment to something and have somebody there that will basically help you stay accountable. And that's the word I think that they use is um, find an accountability partner. Because like you said, if you have somebody who knows about your goals, they're going to be the first ones to ask you about, well, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be doing this or shouldn't you be doing that to get towards your goal? So that's a very good plan. Actually, there's no probably to it. It's a really good plan for reaching a goal is to have somebody there that can help you stay accountable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Was it
so the
a friend or a tutor or your stepmom or yeah, or just having someone and having those silent cheerleaders. They don't have to be on Facebook. I have a couple that are not on Facebook, but they cheer me on um, via text and via other means. But it's just having those silent cheerleaders. Doug Doug happens to be a public cheerleader of mine, but silent cheerleaders work just as well as public cheerleaders. So when you're having a bad day, you can go to those silent or public cheerleaders and say, "Look, this is frustrating. What do I do?" And so what I think is going to help you with a goal. Set a goal, set yourself up for success, and tell people.
Exactly. Tell people what you want to accomplish.
Yeah,
Okay. So, okay. And the last question is regarding accommodations, because I know you have some accommodations in school, but since I'm working as a college tutor right now, that's one thing that I have seen is that a lot of students that I'm working with, many of them have accommodations, but they're minimal. They're not very accommodating. I mean, I have a couple of students that have learning disabilities, but the only accommodations that they get are extra time on a test, and I have one student that I'm allowed to read questions to because they have a reading comprehension issue, but that's it. They don't. There's no other help for them, and so in some cases, those accommodations can be a challenge. And so that's one question I wanted to ask you, because you're a student in higher education. Do you feel that the accommodations that you're given are they beneficial? Do they help you, or do you feel like sometimes they just get in the way of your progress?
they just get they to put it mildly, they just get in the way. they some help. The e-textbooks help, but electronic textbooks help. It's basically like a ebook, you guys, and a textbook. But the rest of the accommodations, because what I've come to find out, and this is something that I came to find out from a previous professor, and when the professors get those accommodations letter, they don't say that Susie Q has dyslexia. They say you have a student coming into your class with a learning disability. you can do you can choose to do these accommodations or not. I've had some professors not realize that I've had a disability, and then I've had other professors pick it up quite quickly. Now, at Ashford University, where I'm at, one of the things that I enjoy, and not to say that I didn't enjoy my previous program, but with my previous program at the Academy of Arts University, it took the professors a little bit of time to understand that I have a physical disability slash a learning disability. And so at Ashford, some of the professors pick it up 9 times out of 10, they pick it up right away.
And just so
But
they don't really need the note to know that. They can tell by just working with you.
they we still we still need to note, but at the same time, I I believe that Ashford has behind the scenes training for for people with disabilities, because the first time that vocational rehab and I called them together, they knew exactly what vocational rehab was talking about. Whereas my previous program, they go, "What? Vocational rehab is helping you pay? You need accommodations? What's going on there?" And so I believe that school I be I believe that Ashford University out of San Diego is, one of the top-notch schools for people with disabilities and veterans alike. So I believe that at the Ashford University out of San Diego, they're getting extra behind the scenes support that I don't even know about.
Wow, really?
Because for them for us to call them and them automatically to know what, the rehab was talking about, I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing." And so that's why I am going to finish out this journalism degree, you guys, and then I'm taking a couple months off from, education because if I go straight into master's degree, my brain will hurt, and so I'm taking a couple months off to recover, and then I'm going back to a master's degree in special ed. So that's the plan. That's going to be the plan, but I'm going to do untraditional special ed. I'm going to do special ed coaching more than I am in the classroom because the classroom drives me nuts, quite frankly. And it's not safe for me to go into the classroom now with everything that's going on. I mean, it's not safe for me to go into the classroom until we get a vaccine. So that's
Exactly. Yeah.
on you guys, and I hope that my plan works, and if not, I have my journalism degree, and because I thought about this long and hard, I thought about this long and hard. I thought, well, when I when I got kicked out of education, number one, I was shocked. Number two, I was a little bit taken back, but now I'm coming to the point where I can inspire people with disabilities. I can also inspire their parents. So I'll be doing special education coaching with a degree.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is after my true passion of journalism.
So you, and at least that way, you can practice and you could maybe possibly be employed in a position somewhere as a journalist while you're getting your master's.
Yeah, yeah, that's that's my hope. That's my hope. I mean, although I would never, ever, ever, there's no, there's no way, I would set, and people know this publicly. There's no way I would go back into the classroom. Someone asked me out of New York publicly on this podcast. They said, "Well, would you go back into the classroom or just?" with content creation, I said, "You couldn't pay me to go back into the classroom now. Teachers just get paid low. They get they get the fuzzy end of the long line all the time, especially this year." But what ends up happening is I need to have a job while I'm getting my master's. So that's why I'm sticking out the journalism degree, and I am um taking a month off and then going, back to get my master's, or I maybe so enthused to just get it over with that I may plow right through.
So, um, so in the master's degree, are you gonna? Do you think you'll be able to do that at the same school, or do you have a different school in mind for
I
your master's degree?
I am l my school right now has, I trust me, I've looked into this, um, and my school right now has a master's degree in special ed. And so I am looking to them. I'm also looking at different schools, but I think I'm going to stick with Ashford University. So basically, I'll have a undergraduate in journalism, and then I will couple months off, re-enroll, and then do my master's degree.
In education too, even as where I'm employed at now in a community college as a tutor, that's really if I were to get a bachelor's in psychology and then decide to move on to a graduate degree, really that most of what they look for, even in higher education, is a degree, a master's degree in education or some focused form of education, so
Yeah,
that you can work at the college level.
yeah, I'm coming to find it out that, teachers that don't have a degree per se, are are swimming upstream because I'm coming to find out, and even though someone told me a long time ago that you will not get a high paycheck again, even with master's degree, it's something that I've been called to do. I've been living with cerebral palsy for 33 years, so it's something special ed I could teach in my sleep. I just didn't
Yeah,
have the opportunity to do it before, but now after my journalism, I will.
yeah, and that would be a good direct connection for you because students always really want to know what the people they want
Yes,
to know that you have a
yes,
connection, and you
yes,
definitely have a connection.
yes, and I could talk to parents, talk to students. And so, Doug, where can people find you? Where can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Well, I don't actually have a public presence. I don't have a page or website. I'm on Facebook. I think my profile is public. If they really wanted to get a hold of me, that's where I am. That's really the only presence I have is on Facebook. I don't do much other social media right now, other than working directly with people. I am a tutor registered on BrainFuse, I think, but I mostly work through Lone Star Community College here in Harris County, Texas. And outside of Facebook, my email address is dphurt620 gmail.com, and they can email me. 'Cause other than that, I
Yep,
don't really have a public presence.
they can email you and they can um, a ask you all the questions, and maybe one of these days you can be a mentor for people that are going back to college because you
Exactly. Yeah, and
and
that's
me.
what I do that. Yes, exactly. And that is one of the things that I like doing is that I meet a lot of people that are 40 and later, 40 years old and older that don't have a college degree and they're afraid because of their age that it's not possible for them. And so like you're saying, my example for them is that look, I started college at 53. And if I can do it, and be 57 years old now, finishing a bachelor's degree, if I can do it at that age, 35 years out of high school, you can do it too.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely way to end this podcast interview, and you guys, you can do anything you set your mind to, and this is coming out of my mouth. So, yep, yep. So there
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
go. There we go. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Gwen. And I hope you got a little inspiration from today's conversation. And I'll catch you guys next time. Bye, you guys.
All right. Thanks.